Billy D here with another exciting Cal Jam podcast sponsored by our great friends over at Vox Life. Jay Dollywall stepped up to the plate big time this year, and we're very grateful to him for helping support Cal Jam. I'm very excited to bring a guest on today, Dr. Alex Vidan, all the way from St. Louis, right?
Yeah, my man.
All right.
St. Louis.
And we're going to discuss going on the offense, a little Vince Lombardi talk here today.
That's right.
Keep it simple, too. But you have been the pretty much the team chiropractor for the Cardinals, right? If I got that right?
Yeah. It was the team chiropractor for the Cardinals when we won in 2011 when we won our World Series. So
you got the big ring on to show or no?
I don't have it today. I'm not wearing it today.
Yeah, all right. Yeah, that thing's like huge, man. You need like a crane to pick that thing up. How did you ever get involved with the Cardinals to begin with?
Oh man, it was one of those things where I just consistently was out there more and more, and just keeping the message out there about chiropractic, what we do, and just continually out there. So I was out in my community all the time, on the news all the time, and when the opportunity came, they reached out to me, and actually the guy who had been the chiropractor for the longest time, he reached out to me, he talked to the organization and said, hey, we want you to be the chiropractor for the Cardinals, and it's a day I'll never forget.
Right. I mean, I don't know any of the Cardinals today. I was a Cardinal fan back in the day when Bob Gibson used to pitch, but that was Kurt
Gibson.
Flood, Lou Brock, all those guys.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't name one baseball player right now, but I can name them. I could probably name the batting order. Who was their catcher too back in the day?
Oh, I wouldn't know.
Okay.
I know like Gibson and Brock and those guys, but I wouldn't know who the catcher was.
All right,
I wasn't here then.
We're already losing people, so let's get back to the. So we're talking about going like chiropractic's always been like on the defense. You know, we're always like trying to like put this fire out, and like I've been seeing with the chiropractors lately is we need to go on full-fledged offense, take our message to the world. So I'm excited because you've really broken to your local media, but also I think you've got even more national media stuff going on as well.
Yeah.
So tell the doctors what you've done to create that the demand for you being in the media, and how can they emulate what you're doing so that we can really get. I mean, if we got chiropractors literally doing this in every community, telling the story. It's just like I was this weekend at the Truth About Cancer, which is it wasn't a chiropractic group, and that's one of my visions is to get more out into the general public in different venues. Because I mean, it's fun to be in all the chiropractic stages, but it's like the same thing over and over. And I want to get our message out to more and more people, and people really love our story.
Yeah.
As long as you keep it simple, you keep it on chiropractic, and you keep it kind of relevant so they can understand it. So explain to me how you've done so well with getting media exposure.
Yeah, so, I mean, just to kind of talk about what you're saying there, it's that I've been on the news nearly 200 times. We've been doing this where it's over a decade now almost that I've been on the news, and we're helping other docs across, like you said, across the nation do that same thing. It's my personal goal is the same thing as yours, is to make sure that our message is reaching the masses. We're not on an offensive, that we're not on a defensive, we're on an offensive position in getting our message out. So whenever these things pop up, it doesn't matter, right? So it doesn't matter that somebody's saying something about chiropractic because the public knows what the truth is. At this point, they don't. And so we need to get our message out there across the board. And a great way to do it is just what you're talking about too, is it's easy for us to do it in a safe place. Like, oh, I'm just talking to other tours. I'm talking to other chiropractors. This is a really safe place for me to say whatever I want to say. We need more people that are willing to like boldly step out and get the message out there on a mass media and get that out there in each community. So that's my goal too. I want to get a solid chiropractor on every news station across the U.S. I mean, what kind of an impact would that have on chiropractic and on the tipping point? Because it's needed, and when we use mass media in our benefit, it makes all the difference in the world. And right now, we're not at all. Right. And there's a huge opportunity for growth.
And also, I think it not only helps get the word out, but it makes us look more legitimate, especially if we can articulate what we need to do. So what's the secret? I mean, is there a secret, or I mean, are you going to tell us, or I mean, how do we? How would I like? I would love to get some more exposure in my neighborhood. What do I need to do? Clipping the line there. Big Brother doesn't want us to get the word out. So what's the secret, right, dude? Just tell me what doctors need to do, or is there a formula, or is there something that you have to lead people
so it's
through?
it's a multi-step process is really what it is, and there's multiple parts to that, and so it's making sure that you're connecting with them as far as getting on the news, and then making sure that you're consistently being on the news. The repetition is going to be the key. The problem is that most of the time people get on one time and they screw it up, but they don't realize that they did, and it's not their fault, right? The news station doesn't tell people these are the rules, this is what you got to do, and this is what we want you to do. They don't tell you any of that.
Got it.
Like they don't give you the inside information on anything. And
now I'd be the guy that kind of probably screw it up. That would be me.
It's really common. The problem is whenever that happens is that it doesn't just mess it up for that one chiropractor, that one doc. It messes it up for everybody else, because the station then looks at it and goes, okay, well then we won't have somebody else on.
Right.
And I've seen that happen so many times that at that point I just started saying, all right, look, I got to come up with a program to show people how to do that. And that's kind of the route that I started going, because I just got so frustrated with the end result not being getting docs on the news.
Right. So in a kind of a nutshell, what would be the number one thing that doctors need to do other than just consistently talking to the media to get on media?
I mean, I would say that what you said right there, the consistency is the key. Just like anything, right? Consistency always breeds
persistence.
Persistence, man. Persistence. Right. It's persistence and consistency, and that's going to be huge within itself.
Okay, and then who do you call at, let's say, your local radio station? Who do you call to get that done?
Well, you've got to find a point of contact in there. So let's say on your radio station, you want to find out who's a point of contact for me to connect with. What's the hierarchy look like in that station? Is it a national station, a local station? I usually say, look, local stations are going to be better than national stations, whatever it is, because that reaches your community right there. Exactly. National is cool.
Right.
What's that?
Exactly. I mean, I'm just thinking right now there's a local radio station here. So how do you pitch it then?
Pitching it means that you've got to get that information. So you've got to make sure that, hey, I've got this idea. It's a hot idea right now. It's got a hook for right now. It's something that garnishes attention that's right now. And they want to know it right now, because if it was last week's news, then it doesn't matter anymore. Right. They want to know what's new right now. And so when you pitch it to them, it's got to have that in it. It's got to have that content in there. It's got to have your points that you're going to cover in there. And then it's got to have everything else that they want all packaged in there too, so that it's just done. So they don't even have to think about it. They're like, yeah, this makes sense. This is the guy or this is the girl that we want to have on.
Okay,
this stop, she's going to be the best one.
Advocate right now. Let's say right now in California, there's a huge, the whole vaccine movement's a huge issue for a lot of people. Would that be something that would be too controversial to present to local media? As far as, it would definitely sell listenership. What's that?
Typically vaccines, things like that, are going to be ones that right now, depending on what station you're trying to get on, or depending on what their topics are, something like vaccines is going to be so controversial that they don't want to sway it too far, right? You got to imagine, like, the news, for the most part, it depends on what kind of program you're trying to get on. For the news, for the most part, is going to be for that big part of the bell curve, not those outlier ones. So I love talking about things like vaccines. I love talking about things like GMO. I like talking about that stuff. But most news stations don't want that on there because of the fact that they're like, well, that's not where we want to be right now. It doesn't mean it's not coming. It just means that it's not yet. So, like, I did an opioid segment years ago. They don't want me to be on there talking about opioids and drugs. They're like, well, you're a chiropractor. Why should you be talking about drugs? I'm like, because I'm a chiropractor and I don't prescribe them and I help people not get that, right? So same kind of thing for that, for everything like vaccines and GMOs and all that. They might not be quite ready. You just have to figure out your station and know what their tone is.
All right. And then So what would be a topic that you would recommend? Right, and the opioid one sounds like a really good one right now.
Opioid's a great topic right now.
And then you could probably roll that into. I mean, right now it's a hot topic for me as far as the talks in my office. I know it's not chiropractic before anybody shoots any arrows in my friggin' back, but CBD's big right now, and
Sure.
getting people that are interested in alternative thinking to begin with when they're looking at CBD. It's also, we got the whole thing with as far as Brad's talking about with concussions. Since CBDs are neuroprotective and also neuroregenerative, I think it's really the best ammunition about preventing concussion. And then you swing it into, I mean, do you like you talking about CBDs or you're talking about opioids? Then you just shift right into chiropractic as an alternative way of dealing with a lot of people's neurological issues.
Right. One thing that you have to be careful on a lot of these shows, and I'll make sure I give you this tip too, is that a lot of these you have to be careful as to whether or not when you're on there, you don't want to be constantly you don't want to keep pitching things, right?
Right.
So if you're explaining and you're showing and doing all that, but you don't want to, at the end of it, you don't want to go, okay, so if you really want help with that, come to my office and I'll do this. Right?
Right.
But people don't realize that, and that's another way that they mess things up, because they do it, and then all of a sudden, the next thing you know, those people are like, oh, well, we won't have them back because all they did was come on to sell their thing. You're going to sell just by you being on there.
I mean, that's one thing. I mean, I don't know if a lot of speakers or people that get in the media have really realized that. I mean, like when I did Mercola's show, I mean, that I did a podcast with him, and literally I had 500 people requesting DCs that think the way I do, but most of them were from around the world. It wasn't like it was specifically marketed. But if you're doing a local event, and you're not overly salesy, and you're just giving people the facts, and you're making it so that they can easily understand the concepts that we're trying to get across to you, then of course they're gonna gravitate towards you, or maybe they're gonna go back to their old chiropractor, which is good too. I mean, we just want to keep people in the chiropractic world and it's really push our movement on a bigger manner because of the fact that we're up against mainstream media, which, in my opinion, and this is my prediction, you're going to see more and more negative press about chiropractic, and that's why I think it's great that we are more on the offensive. That's why it's great to see guys like Brad Glowacki doing his NALO thing where we're giving back. It's great that we go on these mission trips. It's great that Rick Wren's in Florida or in Texas helping people, because it shows that chiropractors are really a positive force of love. And when people see that about chiropractic, when we get all these curveballs thrown at us about chiropractic causes strokes or all the bullshit that we've always heard.
Sure.
I mean, let's talk about the kettle calling the whatever black. I mean, the medical profession is not. I mean, obviously, is even admitted by the Journal of American Medical Association the number one killer on the planet. And say number 3, but if you really do the
and that's the thing to think about too, right? That's it. It's if you make it to where your message is out there on mainstream media, and we're on the offensive, then it flips the script. If you've got a chiropractor that knows what he or she is talking about consistently on the news across the U.S. and across the world, then all of a sudden this doesn't become a conversation anymore, right? The thinking of that chiropractic did this and chiropractic does that in a negative tone doesn't even become a conversation anymore, because what ends up happening is you've changed the thought process. What I find a lot of times is that we as chiropractors, that we get so aggravated at the mainstream media's attention in a negative aspect towards us that we never think, well, I should go on the offensive for that. And I know that aggravates a lot of chiropractors, me saying that. I know that pisses them off.
Why does that piss them off?
Because they look at it and they go, well, no, the mainstream media, they're against us, and they're just putting out negative things and all that stuff. I get what people are saying. At the same time, we've got to look at it as that's just the way to get it out to people. That's just getting the message out. It's really easy for us to say all the things that we want to say about chiropractic in our own little chiropractic huddles, right? In our own chiropractic groups.
Right.
But getting it out there, it's like you just said, look, before I say this and you start shooting arrows in my back from my own brothers and sisters in chiropractic doing that,
right?
People get concerned about, well, if I'm on the news, am I going to have that same thing but from the general public? Well, yeah, you're gonna. But that's why you have thick skin and put your head down and keep going.
Right.
Right? Like that's what it comes down to. So the more that we can do those things, but we can get it out because people need to hear our message. We just have to get over the fear by understanding the key concepts of having that message out there in the right way. And then all of a sudden it starts opening up that door more and more. I was just on the news. I'm going to be on again on Thursday, but I was just on the news, 2 weeks ago, talking about SI joint dysfunction, so sacroiliac problems. And just from that one segment, I got 17 new patients that called me up saying, I have what you said. I've been to all these places, and I need help. That's just from that one live segment. That's not even using it in anything else. That's not doing anything else. That's not repurposed. That's not anything. That's just from that day. So when you think about that, you think about how many more people that we can reach with that, why not? Why not reach those masses? They need it. They need to hear what we've got to say.
Of course they do, because they've been so brainwashed by, obviously media that's funded by the pharmaceutical cartel. And it's just like, I don't watch TV. I very rarely listen to the radio, but like many times I'm in the gym working out. Say I was just in Orlando.
Yeah.
And every other commercial on TV is a drug commercial. So they're getting brainwashed into that whole outside-in principle where we've got the ADIO principle.
Sure.
I can't talk. I didn't get enough sleep. I'm into this intermittent sleeping thing now. Everybody has intermittent fasting. I do intermittent sleeping.
Right.
But does this ever concern? And it doesn't concern me, but I find it almost humorous to some degree. Like, I will say that I'm going to be talking about real chiropractic, and people go, how do you this is chiropractors. This is not general public.
Yeah.
How do you define real chiropractic? Well, I define chiropractic isn't just about back pain. It's about getting people to live a higher expression of themselves, more higher expression of their DNA by removing restrictions in the communication system of the body, which happens to be the brain and central nervous system. Do you ever run up against any type of negative backlash from fellow chiropractors when you're on the news? Because a lot of it has to do with people are friggin' just jealous that you're getting airplay, you're on the news, you're in the media, you're getting in the spotlight. So chiropractors are our own worst enemy. I mean, and I've kind of actually relish in that kind of. I love trolls. I love negative chiropractors.
They're out there, right?
And I love stirring it up a little bit in our own profession,
They're out there, and so whenever I see that, look, I realize that you can't make everybody happy. No. You can't guarantee that you're going to piss everybody off. So let's just. I'm not worried about making everybody happy. What I am concerned with is getting the message out there and making sure that we're doing that on a consistent basis. And the more that I can do that, people look at my stuff and they go, "Oh, well, that's not chiropractic because you talk about SI joint pain and dysfunction." I'm like, yeah, but that's what people have. I get them in the door and help them understand. Then once they're in the door, then I can help them understand what chiropractic is about. Yes, I would rather them come in and say, you know what, I'm just here because I want my spine and nervous system functioning at its highest level.
I just want a wellness adjustment or something. Yeah. That doesn't happen,
I just want them walking the door. But they've got to be educated along the way.
Right.
These drug companies didn't just start off going, yeah, you know what, just ask your doctor if this is right for you. They started off way back educating people along the way until now that's where they are. And it's just like, oh, well, that's normal, right? Well, at some point, we've got to reach in there and say, let me reach this in a mass media aspect and then take them along the journey of, I'm going to teach you what chiropractic is actually about so that you want lifetime care for you, for your husband, for your wife, for your kids, for your mom, all that. It's just, I love talking about that for sure because they're out there. I don't worry about them anymore.
No, I don't.
I used to at first, but now I'm just like, oh, man. Whatever.
After a while, you get thick enough skin that doesn't, and that's what I try to teach chiropractors that a lot too. That you've got to be thick-skinned. You got to be able to take a little heat, and if you're not, then you're not pushing it hard enough. So if you're not, and if you're not getting that, then you need to push harder, because our message is going to be. It goes against the grain of what most people have been brainwashed to think, including a lot of allopathically minded chiropractors that are just pain-based.
Right.
I mean, if I'm talking about lifetime care for somebody, or like what I did this weekend, I'm trying to teach people that chiropractic, it doesn't treat cancer. It doesn't do any of that. What it does is a body that is higher vibrating, higher expression of your own DNA is going to be more resistant to everything from the flu to cancer. That's really an easy concept for people to get. especially if they're doing things like eating right. Oh my God, I'm mixing super hard now, and exercising and getting not intermittent sleeping, getting normal rest, and just being happy overall, and loving your neighbor. So, what topic would you say is probably would be the best topic to really introduce to the media to get? I mean, I like the opioid idea.
Opioid is great. It's just a tough initial one to get on.
Okay.
It is. It's a hard one because it's hard for them a lot of times to see, like, well, how does a chiropractor make the connection? And then you're trying to educate them, and they're like, we don't have time to be educated. We need to instantly see the connection between you, chiropractor, and this idea. So keep it to where it's something. Let's just keep it to where it's something like it's pain-based focus, and that's going to be your initial step. Depending on most stations. So if your station is going to talk about whether it's radio or TV or whatever it happens to be, if they are on the idea of, no, we talk about all kinds of different things, we talk about CBD or we talk about whatever it is, then you're going to look at it and go, oh, well, then I can talk to them about opioids. So you've got to do some homework and some research there too. Most of them aren't going to be that way. Most of them are going to be, well, you're a chiropractor, and chiropractors are known for neck pain, back pain, and that's it, right? So that's where your first initial step should be focused. It should be focused on something like that that's intertwined with something that's a hook of the type that's not only just chiropractic, but also as a hook that's, well, this is the right time to talk about that. This deals with what we're looking at. Sometimes it's a hard stretch for them to look at, like you mentioned, the concussion stuff. Sometimes it's a hard stretch for them to see how does chiropractic help with concussions, because I don't see the link between that for the initial contact. That might come later on, maybe second, third, fourth, fifth time that you're on, then you can start looking at those things. But when we're talking about that in December, nobody wants to talk about concussions then unless some new thing has happened at that point. Then they're moved on to the next thing. Right? So it's always got to be, it's got to be a timely hook. It's got to be a proximity hook. So what is it that's timely right now? What is it that, because what matters in Southern California doesn't matter in St. Louis, Missouri. Right? So if I'm talking about shoveling snow, you will never talk about shoveling snow.
No.
If you do, it's the biggest news in the world, right? It's like, so you've got to figure those things out. There's multiple hooks that tie into it, and you've got to figure out all those hooks that tie in, that just get deep and set in there. And once those deep hooks set in, then you're gold.
Okay, let me ask you this question too. I mean, I'm sure a lot of radio stations probably would charge you to speak or be on the show. Is that something that's worth doing?
I don't say that you should pay to play. Okay. I know a lot of people that pay to play, and they try to make it sound like it's not pay to play, but it always is. That's fine.
What if it opens the door for you, though? I mean, if they...
And I was going to say, that's fine if it opens the door for you, but sometimes that pay to play can be $2,000, $2,500, $5,000 every time that you're on.
Yeah, but if you get, say, friggin', like you said, 17 new ones out of it,
that's
friggin' drop in the bucket.
Right. Then it doesn't matter. But what if that doesn't happen for you the first time? What if it doesn't happen until the third time or the fourth time? How many times are you going to keep?
Anybody that's done marketing or anything like that really understands that. I mean, at least they do. I mean, just like you're not going to always hit a home run the first time you're up.
Right.
Sometimes it takes repetition. I mean, how many times have we gone and done a screening and come home with 0 people? Not only it's the friggin' money you spent to be at the screening, but the friggin' 8 hours you're out there.
Right.
Or you go. You do a talk that somebody set up for you, and that costs you $500, and you go there and you buy lunch, and that's $1,000. I mean, you don't always friggin', and that's what I try to get chiropractors to understand. Is we're not in this to just always hit a home run. We're in this to get the message out, and just the fact that you didn't get any new ones in the door doesn't mean you weren't successful. At least you got the message out there.
Yeah, and I agree with that. I think that sometimes it's hard for people to see that long-term investment of saying, well, I'm going to pay this and I'm going to keep doing this consistently. That's why I say, look, let's not do it as pay to play. Let's do that to where you get on. We start to make it to where you're building the relationship. As you build the relationship, you follow these strategies, it happens. And that when you follow those strategies and you get on and then you're consistently on, all of a sudden people start to say, well, whenever I need that chiropractor, whenever she says something or he says something that touches in me and make sure that it connects with what I have going on, I'm going to call him. I'm going to call her to make sure that we get the results that we want. And I get back to whatever it is I've got to do. But that consistency just, it breeds that cultural authority. And when you have that cultural authority, people are like, okay, it's easy for me to refer to you because of the fact that you're on TV and you've got this accolade and that accolade.
Right.
People want to vouch for you, right? Like
Right.
people, your patients want to vouch for you, and it's easier for them to vouch for you whenever you've got something like that behind it. Well, not only did he get rid of my headaches and made it to where now I can sleep and did this and that and the other, he also is the one that's on the news station that, you know, that's on our local news, and he's always on there. Have you ever seen him on there? No, you haven't? I'll send you his link on there. He's got it on his Facebook page, blah, blah, blah. It just makes it easy for that to happen. And then they go, oh, okay, I feel like I built a relationship with this doc, and I feel like I know him or her. And what happens is it makes it easier to bring down that barrier.
Yeah, and we've also got an issue, too, with more people leaving kind of more the mass media with typical radio and TV, going to more internet-based
Sure.
media forms. So maybe it's just establishing yourself with different podcasts like we're doing right now as a form.
Sure.
Or
Podcasts are great.
Yeah, I mean, like I did podcasts with Dave Asprey. I've done them with Mercola.
Mhm.
You know, I did the live show with Alex Jones to 14 million people.
Sure.
So there's other, you know, venues that we can utilize other than just the tried and true TV, which I think is a dying breed personally. Well, maybe it's not. Maybe it's a dying breed for me, and that's just the way I look at it. I don't know. Is there less people watching TV than it used to be I mean,
well, here's the thing. So what they've started to find is that on the local level, people still go there for their news. They still go there to find that out. Now, does that mean that there's not, like, yeah, I listen to podcasts. I look at things online. I don't watch the news. Really, the only reason I watch the news is to get other people on the news, and that's really it. But what we find is that nobody, like, doing commercials doesn't work.
Doing what?
Like, doing commercials now, commercials.
Okay.
And it's because of the fact that when a commercial comes on, if it's live, then you're on this, right? You're on your phone, and that's it. So if you're watching TV, if somebody's watching TV at home, commercial comes on and they can't buzz through it, or it's not on Netflix, they jump on their phone to do other things. So they don't pay attention to the commercial. As opposed to something like being on the news, people are watching the news to find out what's on the news. And so they're watching that to find out, well, what is it that they're going to talk about? And when the news does it right, they tease you, as in they talk about what's coming next. And when they do that, then people go, oh, I want to find out about that. So they watch it to find out the information and find out because, oh, well, that relates to me or to my family or to my, people I care about. So I want to know about those things. The non-traditional routes of which are becoming massive now, right, are things like your podcasts, are things like being on Facebook, or things like Instagram, or things like YouTube and all that. Those things are huge because they all have their place. The only thing that I look at with that is that what separates any of us from, let's say, anybody else that's on Facebook or that's on YouTube. The only thing that separates us from that is whenever people see the social proof of, well, he or she has so many viewers that makes it to where they must be good now, right? It's got so many people that are watching it and have so much attention to it, that have so many eyeballs on it, that they must be good. People do the same thing with getting on the news. They go, well, he must be good because of the fact that he's on the news. So if we're looking at everybody else across the board, the public's perception, think about it this way. Think about it not as a chiropractor, think of it as general public. They're going to say, this is where everybody is in the general. Now, the next tier up would be the people that maybe specialize in this, but the next tier up, at the very top of that, would be the people that they say, well, those are the people that are on the news. So is Dr. Oz the best, absolute best MD that's out there in the entire world? Well, because we're looking at it from the perspective of the general public's going to go, yeah, he's probably the best because he's on TV. And since he's on TV and he's been on for so long, he must be the best automatically because he has so much attention garnished to him. He has so many eyeballs on him. That's the public perception. So if you go where the attention is, that's what brings you up to that next level that makes people think automatically he must be good because he's there. Right.
It builds social credibility.
Social cred.
Okay. Well, anything else you want to say in closing?
I mean, man, I want to say that it truly is in my heart to get chiropractors on the news.
Okay.
Because,
so
like you said,
I want to program where you teach people, or I mean.
Yeah, I have. Yeah, for sure. For sure. Thanks for mentioning. Yes, I have a program where I teach people.
No, I'm bad at that shit too, dude. I go places and I forget to even say anything about Cal Jam. It's like,
you forget to say Cal Jam. Yeah. No.
But you know, I have a program. It's just like you said earlier, though. It's not like they can't find Alex Vidan and then if they have questions. So it's not like we do these things just to as a sales. You know.
No.
I mean, and your heart and my heart are the same. Where we're just trying to get chiropractic to the masses, and we're trying to help people do that. But yeah, there's different programs that people utilize to get where they need to go in life, whether it's Brad's CSK or it's Cal Jam or whatever it is, whatever you need in your life.
Right.
And whatever, also, I feel that whatever you support too. I think, like for me, I love people that support Cal Jam because it's got huge goals to save the planet, change the consciousness of the human race.
Right.
So it's not like we're doing sales stuff to just pad our pocketbooks. I mean, seriously, I could go to friggin' Costa Rica and surf the rest of my life and I'd be friggin' happy as a lark. But I've got bigger goals than that. I mean, I want to really change consciousness. And the way we do that is by getting in the media. So how would they find, or what's the best way to find you?
I mean, you know, go to ticktv.rocks.
Ticktv.rocks.
Yep. TIC, ticktv.rocks. They can go there. They can go on there. They can message me. They can hit me up there. They can hit me up on Facebook, Alex Vidan, DC. You can hit me up there. That's Vidan. But, I mean, those are the things because, like you said, man, I mean, we have a mission. And by reaching more and more people, getting out to more and more people, we're only going to just tip the scales in the way to make people say, I got to try chiropractic. You know, my family has been talking to me about it. I've been resistant to it. But now, because of the fact that they have social proof, I'm going to do it. Right. And, you know, us thinking that we don't need that is just naive.
To think that.
Yeah,
I hear that all the time from people. I don't need to do anything.
Right. You hear it all the time, but it's true.
Dude, you know, when was it ever about you, man? When did you ever do anything else for, like, people that are out there that are sick and dying? You're just too cool to get off your ass and do anything? I understand that if that's where you're at in practice, where you don't give a shit about anybody else. But you and I are really trying to change the landscape of the planet. And you're not going to do that sitting in your ass in your office, you know, thinking that you're too cool to do anything or you don't need to do this. And that's a bunch of bullshit. Most of those people are struggling and they just want to admit it. But that's just the feeling I get from people, you know. And when people say that to me, I just want to walk away and just like I don't know what to say to people like that because we look at a planet that's in just total disarray, and whether we can change it or not, I don't know. I'm very optimistic that we can. I think the human race is smart enough that we can shift consciousness and really kind of, and that's why I'm over like the older chiropractors. Those are the ones that shoot the arrows, anyways. I'm going more for the students that are fresh, that you know really are concerned about the future of the planet. Because when you got people that are old and tired and they don't give a shit anymore. It's really kind of can be like I just did an event. I won't mention where it was. It was just a people there that just don't give a shit, you know. And it really, it's what I do. It's next. It's going to happen when you're doing marketing. It's going to happen anything. You're going to come across negativity. You're going to come across people that don't give a shit. And that's why I really focused. I'm going to really start speaking more at the colleges and more out of chiropractic, to really get this message out. And I mean, I really love what you're doing and I would like to implement it more. So I need to talk to you too in my spare time, which is very weird. So
all your spare time. I know what you mean.
And last but not least, I mean, this probably won't be up before the event anyways, but I mean, I don't know if you're going to be at Josh's gig this week in 10X, but I mean, the reason I'm going is because I want to learn ways that I can 10X what I'm doing. Through Cal Jam, but also in my practice, because I'm still actively in practice, as you are too. We're actually doing what we're saying that we're doing. We're not on the sidelines being the armchair critic of what we're doing. So if it's vaccines that sell, which they do here in California, but sometimes I wonder if that really kind of cuts off part of my crowd too. But I've never really had.
Gotta speak your truth.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, no, I would definitely be at that 10X this weekend, but I am actually, and I'll talk to you more about it. I'm just going to drop this and kind of leave it. But I'm actually traveling to China to speak with the ICA. So the ICA asked me to go to China and speak over there for the next 2 weeks.
International China Association, or?
No, it's with the ICA. They want to bring chiropractic to China, So they're like, hey, would you go over there and tour around and speak? And I said, yeah, for sure, man. Sign me up.
So are you going with George Curry, or who are you going?
Yeah, I'm going with George. So George and I are going, and he's going to take one track, and I'm going to take another track, and there's about 3 other docs that are going that are kind of senior guys in the ICA, and they're like, all right, you're the young buck that we're going to be pushing out there, and you got to go do all the stuff. I was like, great, I'll do that.
Do you not speak Chinese?
No, but we'll have a translator.
There you go.
So I have
a translator. Make sure you talk slow, which I always get in trouble at those events because I know me.
I've had that problem too.
Yeah, they don't have really a word for F-bombs, so I'd
say. So you get away with it. Yeah. You can swear all you want.
Yeah. All right, brother. Well, thank you so much for taking time out of your day.
Bro, I appreciate it.
I love what you're doing, and I will see you down the chiropractic road of life, brother.
Sounds good, my man. Thanks, bro.
Sorry about the little disconnect, but it's probably big, brother. That happens a lot around here.
It happens.
Yeah. Oh, as I say, nobody got murdered or anything, so we're all good.
No, we're all good.
Yeah, it's just a little bit of a nuisance, but we're all got it done.
Yeah.
All right, love you, bro.
Love you, brother.
Rock and roll.
This is the greatest chiropractic event on the planet.
First impressions are everything, and when you walk in, you see the crowd, you see the stage set up, you hear the band.
The camaraderie was incredible, impressive, and I really felt like I was connected with my community.
Incredible. I've been to 9 out of 10 cow jams. The energy was through the roof, the most electric cow jam I've ever been to.